like,
Paul is a mechanical engineer. I've known him since high school.
this is actually really hard.
Eric Gocke runs his own construction company. We go way back.
It's yank this thing out, it's filled with nitrous, and push the button. One.
So how hard can it be to send a rocket into space?
Everybody likes rockets, right?
What we want to know is how big a rocket can we make? We're going to start out with a simple toy like this, but then we're going to ramp that up to the biggest, nastiest thing that we can whip up in 3 weeks.
After all, it's only rocket science.
Sending a rocket into space is a huge challenge. For over 50 years, scientists have been trying to fulfill our desire to get off this planet and discover what else is out there. But rocketry doesn't have to be the domain of government agencies. I reckon we can build a serious rocket with parts anyone can get their hands on. We're going to start with the basics.
I'm about to demonstrate the principle of rocket propulsion. I have in my hands a fire hose connected to a large water truck. The water will come out of the fire hose in this direction and propel me backwards, just like the rocket exhaust goes down and propels the rocket up. I'm ready now.
This should be good.
Water spraying one way forces me in the opposite direction. This force is referred to as thrust. The more thrust a rocket has, the faster and higher it will go. That is rocket propulsion.
Sending a rocket into space is going to be really hard. To get a feel for it, we've bought some hobby rockets. They're propelled by solid motors, which are basically a mixture of highly explosive chemicals, kind of like a firework.
This is one of the larger sizes that we could get our hands on. This should be interesting.
They get fitted into these cardboard rockets. One spark, and they're off.
Say fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole! When the fuse is lit, hot exhaust gases shoot out the bottom of the rocket and generate thrust, just like the water jet. These rocket motors are great, but none of them have gone much over 1,000 feet. Eric's got one solution: more rocket motors.
I happened to notice when we were assembling this that there was space for a couple extra ones in there. So we put 5 in. And I don't know if that's going to work well, but I'm certainly willing to find out.
You ready for this? Should we use all of it?
All of it,
Let's
man.
go for it. We're using some gunpowder to ignite the rocket motor.
Here at How Hard Can It Be, we
Mortars.
advocate responsible use
Of gunpowder?
gunpowder, firearms, explosive devices. Don't ever do this at home.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, please work.
Come on.
And it's definitely on fire.
Well, that could mean eventually it will work.
Sometimes rockets burn on the launch pad. Who would have ever thought that burning it wouldn't make it better?
Sorry, USA. I let my country down.
Liftoff for the final launch of Endeavour.
Endeavour, go at throttle up.
For NASA, space begins 76 miles up. So we've got a long, long way to go to send a rocket into space. Still, at least we've made a start.
The motors we used on our model rockets were solid fuel motors. You light it, it gives off gas, the gas comes out the nozzle and it propels the rocket up. These are great, but there's a problem. It's basically an explosive. In order to make one big enough, we'd need all kinds of approvals and licenses that we don't have.
It turns out there's a ton of websites devoted to home-build rockets. I found one that has a cool-looking design for something called a hybrid rocket motor. It's something we can build from easily available parts. 60, 61, 12 feet of it. What's great about this design is that we can build it without any special licenses.
A hybrid motor works like this. What it uses is a fuel that's a tube made of anything that burns. We need it to burn really, really fast to propel our rocket up. Here I have some wood chips, and I'm going to burn them. That burning is much like the burning that's going to happen in our rocket engine. The thing with our rocket motor is that it requires a lot more oxygen than the atmosphere can provide. So we'll be using another gas, which will provide a lot of oxygen very quickly. I have some here. Nitrous oxide, also known as laughing gas, has over twice as much oxygen as the air we breathe. This is it burning it with normal air. It's starting to go, you can see. And this is it burning with the nitrous oxide. The nitrous oxide runs out of this tank and into our rocket motor. That'll let our fuel burn really fast, which will give us our exhaust gases and propel our rocket up.
We also need some fuel to burn. Paul used wood chips in his demonstration, but we found out that we can burn regular plastic tubing we can get from the hardware store. This is just regular old plumbing PVC. It's a little thicker in wall than what you might get for your house, but it's otherwise of the same composition. We're going to start by building two small, simple hybrid rockets to test how well nitrous oxide and PVC tubing actually works. Ever since we found out that you can make a bona fide rocket out of parts from the hardware store, we have not been able to rest until we see these things actually go off. This, the body of the rocket is just this EMT tubing. This is electrical conduit, like you'd run electrical lines in a commercial or industrial installation.
I've cut the EMT tubing to length. We're using it to make the nitrous tank and a combustion chamber where the fuel will burn. Paul's making the nozzle, which directs the hot exhaust gases straight out of the bottom of the rocket.
Our PVC-fueled rocket motors are nearly ready for testing tomorrow. All we have to do now is strap a nose cone and some fins to one, and we'll have a rocket that can actually fly.
We've come to the middle of the Mojave Desert to test our very first home-built rockets. This place is run by a group called Friends of Amateur Rocketry. It's kind of like Cape Canaveral. How hard can it be style? It might look like we're in the middle of nowhere, but this facility has everything we could possibly use for doing rockets. We have electricity, and we even have bunkers where we can hide from falling debris. This place is perfect for our needs.
We're here to figure out how well PVC